Hello and welcome to my first ever roster review video. Some folk have kindly sent in their accounts for me to have a wee look at and go over their farming, their resources and various other questions and things they've pointed out. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to diving into that and going deep into their accounts and into their plans. I think it would be very interesting to see how players from different points in the game and different spending habits are getting on with various game modes and farms. I think this would be really helpful for me in general in terms of producing other videos as well, so I'm really looking forward to it. So yeah, without further ado, let's jump into the first roster review. So the first one is GhostDog, who was the first one to submit. So I'm just going to start in game with their brief account overview, but then I'm going to move on over to some sort of graphics and SWGOH.gg to go into more detail, because that detail is not necessarily in the game. So they are in Kyber 4, Rocking Leia and Profundity, and part of the Potentium Masters, and it's not here, but I think they're about 9 million GP. So let's hop on over to the little summary. Right, so I asked everyone to provide a little bit of information, sort of certain ranks and numbers, but also a little bit of context that would be helpful for my review. So this is what GhostDog provided. So in terms of their spending style, they are what I would call maybe a sort of moderate spender, I guess, very similar to myself for my main account, buying what I would see as the high value stuff like the episode pass, conquest pass, lightspeed bundles, lightspeed tokens, and also some ability and relic packs. I can really feel that ability pack purchase. That's something I do quite a lot because like Zetas and Omicrons can quite often be the big bottleneck, and also some crystals. In terms of their account plans, they're looking to finish Peridia troops to R9, which tells me they're already at R7, Zalbar and mission to R7 for GAC, which is great. I think they mentioned they just got into Kyber for the first time, and then also working on gas or working on Balin, so looking for which one to choose. Any other business, as I mentioned, they just got into Kyber, so they're looking to not get relegated, which is a very nice goal, I think. Looking for a few teams, I think, to quickly do that and stay in Kyber. And also looking to build on the Malicos team, because I think they just bought him through that Lightspeed bundle, and also looking to see which GL to go for next out of Rey, JMK, Lord Vader, and also JML and Glat as well, Ahsoka. So yeah, that's the context. They're also into GAC. Let's hop on over to a little summary. So I put this together in terms of what I think are the useful stats for an overview. So first of all, their account age, which I've taken from the number of galactic war battles they've done and divided by 12 to get a rough approximation of the number of days they've been active in the game. They might have taken breaks or something like that, so this might not be completely accurate, but this should be the number of times they've at least done all of their daily activities. So a good idea of activity. GP 9 million, which is I think a good point for 2 years. The Potentium Masters, which is a 430 million guild, so getting up there in terms of size, I would say. In terms of the guild performance, I think that's box 5, so about 60 million GP, and GhostDog is doing 1.5 million. This is reasonable, but I think maybe for a guild this size, they might be looking at a slightly higher raid score. And definitely for GhostDog, there's definitely guilds around a similar GP and level that could offer a higher raid score, so might be something worth considering. But of course, if you're happy in the guild and are content with the current rewards, that's completely fine as well. In terms of their own performance, I would say this is all very good. So just got into Kyber 4. They said a fleet rank between 1 and 5, so I've just gone with 3 on average, and a Colosseum rank of 31. And this contributes to quite a good crystal income, so this is taken into account all of the various sources averaged out per day, so they won't be getting this every day. It'll like fluctuate, but on average this is what they would be getting each day, which is more than enough to cover all of the refreshes, doing it once, which is great. Mark II, not too much of an improvement that can be done here, apart from just doing the raid more frequently. I think their guild is doing it once every 7 days on average. Increasing that to once every 6 days will of course help, but I don't think their account is too bottlenecked by things like relics, so it's not too much of a concern. This, it might be good to see getting a bit higher. The maximum you can get per raid is 10,000, which means the maximum you can get per week on average is like 11 to 12,000. So there's a lot of room for improvement in terms of Mark III, but that would involve investing more into raid teams and potentially moving guilds. I think as you've just starting to get into Kyber, I think getting higher relics might become more and more important as you start to progress. So might be a thing to look at, especially when it comes to next raid, is can you maneuver yourself into a better position or a better guild in terms of raid performance, and really starting to get like 5,000, 6,000 Mark III each raid. Error currency, really good. So they said mostly 30 to 60, occasionally getting into the top 30, which is 500. So I'm going to call it about 10,000 they're getting each month, which is 2 Relic 5 characters, which is pretty sensational. So that should really help speed up some farms without actually having to invest gear into them. Assault battles, I think, are functionally complete. They are working on R9 for Peridia Patrol, so the 2 big ones are pretty much done. There's a few other bits and pieces they can do to improve these 3 assault battles to CT3, but it's really not much of a major concern. I don't think they have Inquisitors or Riva for that matter, so not really too much to do there. I wouldn't focus on it. Of course, unlock the Lightspeed tokens when they come out next year, but I guess when you get Riva, maybe work on her to improve this to CT3, but I really wouldn't focus on it. Same with Ground War. I don't think they have Jedi Knight Look because they don't have Jabba, so once you unlock Jedi Knight Look, it'll be a case of being able to get to CT3, and CT2 for Places of Power is good. They have SLKR, but you can't 3-star this assault battle without Darkside Ray. You can get CT3, but it's very manual, very boring. I really wouldn't recommend it. So yeah, I'm not going to focus on assault battles because I think they're pretty much there in terms of that. Areas that might benefit from are what I would call the resource GLs. So Jabba, Hondo and Ahsoka all have really good resource events. Out of those, Jabba is the most accessible, so I might have a look at maybe how Jabba can fit into plans in terms of getting that mod income. Ahsoka as well, they did mention maybe going for GLAT, so that could be an option. So yeah, that's their overview. Let's jump over to SWGH.gg to have a look at their account. Right, so this is their account on SWGH, sorry. I prefer this to going actually in the game because you get a little bit more information, which is nice, which I'll be making use of. So yeah, I've got a bit of a checklist to go through. So the first thing I'm going to touch on is if we hop on over to their collection is the GLs. So they have 3 GLs, Leia, Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, and C, Sith Eternal Emperor. Decent collection. I think they're definitely at the point where they're going to start unlocking GLs very quickly and really starting to build on this collection. And I think a lot of my recommendations are going to be about what order to do that, maybe because I'll go into it in more detail later. They've got quite a strong foundation in terms of like GAC specific teams and are working on a few more. So after they're done with that, it might be worth changing focus to GLs primarily. And in order to do that, I think the first thing we need to discuss is conquest characters. So I'm going to head over, they've got a handy little filter for conquest characters, just to show what they've unlocked so far. So they have Darth Bane, which I imagine they may be pushed for, maybe with refreshes, or I think it was included in the Conquest Pass potentially, but is a GL level team on his own, so that would definitely help with GAC performance. I think they have bought at least the Trench and Malakos Lightspeed bundles, maybe Darth Malgus as well, and definitely Boba Fett. But they have been able to unlock Maz through doing hard mode conquest, which shows that they are, I guess, up to date and relevant, and then hopefully unlocking the Stranger soon, which might be a very nice addition. They have actually sent images of the conquest characters they're working on, and from that I can tell you that they are very close to Commander Ahsoka Tano. They are 40 shards away, so that would be not this Proving Grounds, which is in a week, but the next one, so should unlock her in about a month. And in terms of the other important ones, so Ezra is about 115 away, so that's about 6 months away from unlocking Ezra. Ben Solo is a little bit further away, so he's only 160 out of 330, so that is, I think, 7 months away from Ben Solo. And the reason I'm focusing on those three is because they feed into, if we hop back out of this, the GLs that they're interested in going for, so JMK, Rey in particular. And because Ben Solo is so far off, about 7 months, and Ezra as well is about 6 months, who's very good in Rey, because of that I wouldn't focus on Rey now, because without those characters she's not really that good at all, especially in Kyber. But they are about a month away from JMK, so I would definitely focus on him, because if we pop on over to the tools and gear tracker, you can see how much gear a player needs to unlock a GL, which is an indication of how close they are. And you can see that JMK is very close, just a few relic levels, no gear needed at all. And I think this will just be like a relic 8 for Grandmaster Yoda, and I think GK, so extremely close, which makes me think it's definitely worthwhile going for JMK first, because unlocking Commander Ahsoka soon, even though he doesn't have a good resource event, I think for good GAC performance and just all-round good character, will help in Conquest, will help in Territory Battles, Territory Wars, all that nice stuff. Definitely makes sense to prioritize him first, just because he's so close. In terms of the other ones he mentioned, so Rey I think is also very close. I think just BB-8 and Jedi Training Rey, judging by the amount of gear that's needed. So very close, but really without those conquest characters I wouldn't prioritize her. So this would be 6 months down the line, maybe once those conquest characters are unlocked, I'd swing back and finish Rey. The other ones, Lord Vader, so again very close. I think through a Lightspeed bundle, just a few, I think judging by the Kyrotech, one character, which I think would be Gas, potentially would be needed. But I wouldn't really focus on Lord Vader, because if we head back over to the old collection and look for clone troopers, they haven't really started working on the dark side clone troopers. Yes, you could use his old team, which is I think some form of Royal Guard, Maul, who's another conquest character, like Piet, but I think that would be a very like intermediate team that wasn't that great anyway in GAC. There's a reason people called him Lord Failure. He is a lot better. He's still not the best GL with his clone troopers, but I would maybe wait until they become accelerated and you can get those quickly to maybe work on Lord Vader. So I definitely not prioritize him. The other one he mentioned is JML. So in terms of JML, I've actually used the C3PO bot to show how close he is to JML. Right, so this is how he's doing in terms of requirements for JML. So mostly Jedi Knight Luke, Jedi Training Rey, C3PO, these three here. So he's Not as close as the others, but what I like about JML is that he fits nicely into that sort of original trilogy group of GL Leia, which he already has, Profundity, which he already has, then also Jabba, who I'll go onto in a second, who I think is very worthwhile farming. And by the time you farm all of those, and Jedi Knight Luke, who needs Han Solo, Chewbacca, and C-3PO, and Hermit Yoda, I believe. So you'll be very close to unlocking Jedi Master Luke. I am quite impressed that they're able to get top 5 with a low gear Han Solo and Chewbacca. I definitely maybe recommend relicking Han Solo up anyway, just to help with the Profundity fleet. Chewbacca will be a lightspeed token in March, so maybe hold off until then to relic him up, but I think JML would be a very good option. Then in terms of JML's requirement, which is Jedi Knight Luke, this is his requirements and he's pretty much there. Again, just Hermit Yoda, C-3PO and Chewbacca lightspeed token, C-3PO just a few relics there, or just needs to relic him up. Hermit Yoda, likewise, you can maybe use a lightspeed token if you really want to on Hermit Yoda, although he's already at gear 12, so very close to Jedi Knight Luke, and that would give him CT3 in that one assault battle that he doesn't have at CT3. But I think the main reason to go for Jedi Knight Luke is not for Jedi Master Luke, it is for this guy. I don't know why this is now white, but yeah, this is the Jabba requirements, which again also needs Jedi Knight Luke, and you can see how everything sort of feeds into each other. You need Han Solo as well, although they are a bit further away from Jabba, as you can see, compared to the other GLs like Rey, Lord Vader, even Jedi Master Luke. I still think it could be worthwhile focusing on Jabba for 2 reasons. The first one is that he has a very good resource event, Smuggler's Run 2, to get that really good mod supply. The other one is that I don't think, I mean I might be wrong, but I don't think relics will be the main bottleneck, especially with all of the Rhodium Lightspeed tokens that they'll be getting. I think the bottleneck will be more like Zetas, and I think they also mentioned Omegas, because they are working on teams like Balin and Malicos, as they've mentioned, which will need Zetas, and then also if they're going for JMK first, that will need a lot of Zetas for the team. So I don't think it necessarily hurts to then focus on a character who you're maybe a bit further away in terms of actual relics, but I don't think it'll matter. I think by the time you can farm them up, they're all pretty easy farms, and get Jabba unlocked, I think you'll still be bottlenecked by ability materials anyway. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that there's several what you would call useless characters to work on, because the great thing about them is they don't need Zetas and they don't even need Omegas. So I think definitely worthwhile. And if you rule out Han Solo, C-3PO, Jedi Knight Luke Skywalker, which has that overlap with Jedi Master Luke, you're then only looking at Mob Enforcer, Greedo, Gamorrean Guard, Skiff and Chrysanthemums, and that's 5. There will be a Bounty Hunter Lightspeed token coming out in March at the same time as the Chewbacca Lightspeed token, which I would recommend using on Chrysanthemum, and that leaves 4 pretty easy to get characters. You can maybe use an Erodium Lightspeed token on Skiff Guard, save a bit of Chirotech, work on these 3 useless characters, pop the remaining ones up to relics. You've already got some of the useless characters like Jawa, and I'm not even going to Uror that one, and you've got Outrider. So I think you are relatively close, and I really like how connected it is to Leia, Profundity, and also Jedi Master Luke, and gives that resource event. So I think that would be one of my main recommendations. So if we then move on to the final GL that he mentioned, which is Ahsoka. They are very close to Ahsoka, which, well, not as close as the other ones, but within striking distance, I would say. Commander Ahsoka, I think they should work on anyway for JMK. In terms of the other ones, General Skywalker, I think they are they seem to be interested anyway in working on gas. And then it would just be a case of picking up Barris and the new marquees. They already have Huyang at relics from the droid lightspeed token, I would guess, and these would be good candidates for an Erodium lightspeed token again. They already have the Peridia pals there, so the only thing holding this farm back, I would say, is the R9. That might be, they don't have a huge amount of Mark III raid income, so it might take a while. They might have to wait on like the Jewel of the Fates and the Peridia Patrol Assault Battle to sort of build back up that R9 supply, so that might hold things back a bit. And the other thing is, you really want Ezra if you're unlocking Glat. She's not that great without Ezra, to be honest. So, and they're about 5 or 6 months away from unlocking Ezra. So I would definitely work on this in, let's say, the middle distance, the sort of 6-month sort of mark, and also has a resource event. So I think would be a very worthwhile project, but maybe not the first thing to work on. So I'm going to go over this at the end in a little timeline. But going through the GL priorities, in my head it is JMK first, just because they're so close. Let me hop over to the SWGOH. Yeah, it's JMK. Then I would say probably actually Jabba. JML, I say, would be optional. That would be very Zeta dependent. But by farming Jabba, I think you'll effectively just have his requirements. Maybe you might need a couple of extra relics, but I think you might just need to relic up JTR and you'll have Jedi Master Luke. And then I would actually go for Ahsoka. Rey and Lord Vader, I would hold off maybe a bit until you can get their good teams up and running. So that would be Ben Solo for Rey, who's still, I think, about 7 months away, and then the Dark Side clones, once they become accelerated, might be worth working on before unlocking Lord Vader. So that's it in terms of the GL priority. So they mentioned a few other things. One was, should they go for Gas or should they go for Balin? I think my answer would definitely be go for Balin. He is a much stronger team in GAC and also makes use of a few characters they already have. So if we hop on over to Night Sisters, they already have Great Mothers and Morgan ready to go for the requirements. And if we go to unaligned Force users, they have Shin and Marok up and running. I think in terms of good GAC performance, definitely Balin over Gas. My issue with Gas is that he's fine, but I'd say he's, at this point, especially when you get into higher levels of Kyber, he is more of like a utility team, mostly beating teams that other teams in your roster could already do. He is still good, but he's definitely not the priority. Balin does get a little bit of stick, but I think he's overall a very strong character, has the possibility of taking down some GLs as well if the Datacrons are right. So I would definitely focus on him, especially because you are so close to unlocking Balin, and I think will just be better in terms of your GAC performance. The other issue with Gas is that he's such a Zeta hungry team. You need, I think, Zetas on most of the clone troopers and also 4 Zetas on General Skywalker, and for a team that isn't like A tier or S tier now, I think that is a bit much of an investment, especially if you're at the point of if you're about to unlock a bunch of GLs. They need a lot of Zetas, so I maybe wouldn't use those on General Skywalker. Like, for example, for my main account, I have him at Relic 9 for Ahsoka and Hondo as well, but I don't have any Zetas on him. I found I've been able to get by just fine without that team getting to Kyber 1. It's a nice team to have, but definitely not a priority. So yeah, my answer would be definitely Balin, and then maybe go for JMK afterwards. In terms of the other stuff, so they mentioned working on Malicos. So if we go over to unaligned Force users, they have bought Malicos and already have 2 Zetas on him, and would have his team pretty much, because they said they're going to use the Ufu lightspeed tokens from the episode track on Seer and baby Calcastus, which I think is a really good use of those tokens, probably the best they could hope for. And they also have Kylo Ren Unmasked and Ahsoka Tano Fulcrum, so I think it definitely makes sense to me in terms of shoring up your GAC performance as you've reached Kyber and need more teams. I think Balin and Taron Malicos, it would be very good options. They've mentioned they've got a reasonable supply of Omicrons to apply to both of those teams, so I think those would definitely be my initial priorities because you're so close to them and will help in terms of GAC, and work on those while you're waiting on certain things that you need for the GLs, I would say. In terms of other bits and pieces, so I saw earlier that they were at Challenge Tier 1 for the Inquisitor Assault Battle, so I just want to check on their progress. So yeah, nothing really in terms of the Inquisitors. Of course, we're getting those Lightspeed tokens next month. I probably wouldn't relic them up to unlock Grand Inquisitor because I don't think they have Riva yet. Well, they definitely don't have Riva unlocked, but if we go to the Potentium Masters, I feel I am saying that wrong, and we go to their units and we have a wee search for, I think it'll be Third Sister. Yeah, so there's only 6 Third Sisters, which makes me think that the guild isn't at the point of unlocking Riva yet. Maybe that will come soon, but I think for now, don't prioritize the Inquisitorius. In terms of other guild related stuff, I would actually like to check how are they doing for Jedi Knight Calcastus. They have 24, so yeah, this could be a reasonable option. I don't know if this is a guild push potentially, but as they are close to JML, Calcastus is very good in that team, and I think would be a nice side farm, especially because they will have most of the characters. They will have Seer Junda, they will have Baby Cal, I think they already have Merrin, and they already have Saw. If we just double check that, I think I saw him. We're just hopping over. Yep, they have Saw already past the requirements. We just need to star him up, I think, to R7, and then Tarfo they don't have. So you're essentially one Gear 12 Lightspeed token away from Jedi Knight Calcastus, and you'll already want to put relics onto Seer for the Malicos team. So you will have Seer and Jedi Knight Calcastus for the Zepho mission, which could help your guild unlock Zepho, get more GE2, or potentially make you more, let's say, attractive roster to guilds looking to recruit. So maybe you might want to move into a guild with more of a higher raid score. Having things like Jedi Knight Calcastus and Bo-Katan Mandalore, which we'll just check on now, should really help to do that. And in terms of you're just missing Paz Vizsla, which you'll be able to use the Mandalorian Lightspeed token that comes out next April, and then also the Kelleran Beck Lightspeed token, which I don't think you have Kelleran Beck, but I think that literally comes out today. Yeah, you don't have him, but it comes out today as I'm recording, so no issues there. I think Kelleran Beck and Bo-Katan would be a very good focus later on. Oh, and the other thing actually would be in terms of GAC teams. Maybe this isn't the case, I did forget to ask, but as you've already unlocked Maz Kanata, I assume you are on track to unlock the Stranger, and you already have a good Star Killer at Relic 8, so I think that could be another sort of GAC focused team while you're working on all of the GLs that you still need to unlock, is to get the Stranger up to relics, get his Omicrons, and I think that could actually be a team that can beat GLs. Of course, we don't know yet for sure, but there has been early testing footage and it looks really powerful even without Spider Legs Maul, so definitely worthwhile. I'll only touch on it briefly, but in terms of ships, you are set in terms of sort of top 5 fleet performance. I think you have, yeah, both Profundity and Executor. Even with Leviathan is always a thing worth working on. I think given your progress to the Fury class Interceptor, you're still, I think it was like 4 or 5 months away from unlocking that. You already have Malgus, if we go into maybe Sith, yeah, so would require a bit more farming in terms of Sith ships and Fury class, but that might be a nice long-term focus. Again, sort of saves on Zetas and stuff which you might be quite bottlenecked on with working on so many GLs, so that'd be another nice long-term focus. In terms of Datacrons, this isn't the best view in the world. What I want, Pillars of War, good collection of focused Datacrons. I think this will really help you punch up. It looks like you have done some re-rolling with the infinite re-rolls that we got given. Yeah, a lot of, yeah, that's very good. Crit damage, armor pen, lots of armor pen on that one. Yeah, it looks like you're pretty much set. It might not be that much of an advantage this season because everyone might have the same, but it's good to see that you're working on Datacrons. I'm not really going to go into mods, especially not in this view. You do have quite a lot of plus 25 speed mods from what I can see. I don't know how to expand this view, but yeah, mods seem in a relatively good place. I'm not going to focus on them too much, apart from recommending to farm Jab, of course. So I think that's it in terms of looking through the roster and various progress to different farms. I'm now going to hop on over to a quick summary that I'll put together in terms of what to focus on. Right, so I put this together quickly in terms sort of collecting together my thoughts for what to go for next. I put the months here, but that's just an estimate. This is, I guess, more for the order to go for things, so don't worry too much about hitting things in certain months. This is just a rough estimate. First of all, I think, yeah, you've mentioned these teams, Taran Malicos and Balin, I think would be very good focuses to shore up your GAC and sort of staying or getting back into Kyber if you happen to dip out a bit. I think those will help a lot. Initially, they will require a fair amount of Zetas and Omicrons, so I'm not going to suggest too many other teams that need those. And then I think while you're working on those, I think just finishing off JMK, I think would make sense as your, not your first GL, but your next GL, because you are like 2 proving grounds away from unlocking Commander Ahsoka Tano, who you really need for to make him viable really in Kyber. So you'll have quite a good team there that you're very close to, and she does feed into other farms. Then also maybe you'll be able to unlock the Stranger about then, and that will give you pretty much an S tier GAC team. Stick him as the lead in the Starkiller team. So with all of these 4, I think you should really be able to like solidify your Kyber status, and then maybe move on to more like long-term resource focused farms, which will still help in GAC, but I think would be more important for like the long-term health and planning of the account. So these would be like the initial focus on GAC, finish your farms that you've already started, and I think that would give you a very good start. Then I would actually recommend going for Jabba. You're not the closest to Jabba out of all of them, but you're not that far away, and you'll have a lot of these. You already have relics. I think you would just need to relic Balin, the Stranger, Commander Ahsoka, and JMK. So there's really not that much to work on, and you can save like lightspeed tokens for those Jabba requirements. And crucially, they don't it'll help in terms of like relieving the Zeta and Omega bottleneck, because you don't, a lot of his requirements you don't actually want to use in teams, so you just apply the relics and forget about them. So I think would make a lot of sense, because he is probably still one of the most valuable GLs and will get you that really good mod income, which again will help in GAC, and I think it's important to get that as early as possible. And I've already gone over why I think Rey and Lord Vader maybe don't make the most sense until you're able to get certain parts of their teams that actually make them viable. At the moment, I think they're not that worthwhile, and you'd be better focusing on Jabba, who has the resource event, and also all of his requirements make up his team, so there's no other extra like conquest unit that you need to farm. So I think that would be the best way to go. I think Jabba makes a lot of sense, and of course you would need Jedi Knight Luke in order to unlock Jabba, but you're also very close to Jedi Knight Luke and will help you get that challenge tier 3 of that Places of Power assault battle, or ground war I think it's called. So I think that would be a good thing to work on in the background while you're finishing off your sort of GAC focused teams, and then you'd actually be very close to JML. I think just needing Jedi Training Ray and maybe a couple of relics. So I think you could then go for JML. I would say it's not mandatory, especially if you're maybe really struggling with Zetas, but you'll pretty much have him by default and have a viable team, because I think another good one to work on would be Jedi Knight Cal Kestis, who you really only need 1 Gear 12 for, because you already have a lot of his requirements from working on other teams, and that will be part of JML, but also will help in terms of territory battles and getting that special mission, which is really important in terms of GE2 and Chirotech, and helping craft sort of higher relic material and maybe even getting into a better guild depending. So I think Jedi Knight Cal Kestis and JML make a lot of sense to do straight after Jabba, and that really rounds off the original trilogy group of GLs and ships. So Profundity, Leia, Jabba and JML all kind of blend into each other and sort of have a lot of overlap. So I think it makes a lot of sense to work on them. And then, I should also have mentioned the reason I put Jabba in March is because the Bounty Hunter and Chewbacca Lightspeed tokens come out in March. So you'll be able to use them on Chrysanthemum and also Chewbacca, who's needed for Jedi Knight Luke. So I think that's why that would be a very good time to go get Jabba. And then similarly in May, we have the Mandalorian Lightspeed tokens, which come out at the end of April. So I think at that point, if you then want to focus on another GAC specific team, that would be a good time to do Bo-Katan Mandalore, who again has another use in territory battles and is just a very good all-round team to have, but is GAC Omicron, so I think that would be a very good target. And then while you're doing that, you should be very close to unlocking Ezra, which I think would make Ahsoka the sort of viable next option in terms of GLs, because with Ezra, she's not really that good, but with him, she's very good in pretty much all game modes, GAC, territory battles, conquest, you name it. And you are a little bit further away from Ahsoka, but by moving her back a few months into June, whatever, you'll have time to work on her relic requirements, which there's a few R9s required, which might hold things back a bit, but you really don't actually have that many characters to actually relic up. It was 4 or 5 maybe, or maybe even 3, so you are very close. You can use Lightspeed tokens, and the great thing about Ahsoka is that she has her resource event now for more relic materials. So you'd be really, I guess, investing in GAC, but also sort of shoring up your income in terms of Smuggler's Run, the Coven Assault Battle, and also giving yourself some good teams for territory battles that you can earn GE2 with and help the guild, or potentially move to another guild working on those missions. So yeah, these would be my recommendations. And I would also say in the background, maybe farm the Leviathan ships, get them up and running for when you unlock Fury class Interceptor. I think, yeah, Leviathan will help in GAC, but also make your life easier in Fleet Arena, even though you're already in the top 5. So yeah, these are just my suggestions. Feel free to ask if you have any questions on any of this. And yeah, thank you very much for letting me have a look at your roster. I really enjoy doing so. And yeah, thank you very much.